Hello, good morning. Welcome to Joy News. Next, we're live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125, across all our social media handles. We are Joy News on TV. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, latest Fitch report indicates that opposition National Democratic Congress is more likely to win the December polls. We'll tell you more about it. Also in this bulletin, restaurant and pub operators in Wa forced to shut down their doors early as a wave of brutal murder sweeps through the area. We're live on the grounds to engage residents gripped by fear. Also in this bulletin, nurses push for 2% of Ghana's oil revenue to be dedicated to healthcare delivery. We'll hear from the nurses as they demand political parties factor their needs in their manifestos.
We calculative and bold decisions in providing financing to the health sector. And we are proposing that at least between 2 to 5% of our oil revenue should be directed towards health.
My name is Faustina Safo. Take a seat. You're my guest. Thanks for choosing us. Now, a report by Fitch Solutions is showing that the governing New Patriotic Party is likely to lose the December polls to the opposition National Democratic Congress. Fitch, in its Sub-Saharan African key themes for 2024 and media review, among other things, said the cedi depreciation is likely to affect the chances of government going to the polls. Let's run you through the key findings of this report as we get ready to speak to Professor Kobe Mensah. He is a political marketing expert at the University of Ghana Business School. But on your screens now, some key details of that report. It says, we believe that the ruling New Patriotic Party in Ghana will be, quote, defeated by the opposition National Democratic Congress in the December general elections, with the ruling party trailing in recent opinion polls. But how true is this? Let's bring in political marketing expert at the University of Ghana Business School, Kobe Mensah. Is it possible that the cedi depreciation could affect the upcoming polls and the outcome?
Faustina, thanks for having me. Obviously, not only the cedi depreciation, the government has actually lost what we call brand equity. Anything that is actually favorable on their side for the voters to actually see positive, outcome or positive, have positive feelings about it. Yeah, the cedi depreciation is one. So many other issues, including governance issues, obviously including key services, have actually been, at the very negative side. So clearly, yes, that's the evidence on the ground.
But then government has said on several platforms, that indeed they are working to turn the fortunes of the economy. The reason why they went to the IMF, the reason why they are working to ensure that our external debt is restructured. Do you think that the fortunes could turn around before the December polls?
Well, there are certain measures that when you take, people could actually use it as a short cues to have a firm belief or a firm opinion that indeed you're working towards, towards their welfare. I mean, most of these indicators don't look like it. Government has actually rubbished quite a number of demands, quite a number of concerns that people have actually put forward. In most cases, they have turned it as opposition, outcry, as opposed to the outcry of the people. And so, yes, they may say what they think they're doing. In the eyes of the public, they're doing completely something different. And so it is not about what they say, it's about what the people feel. And if the people don't feel right, definitely they won't give you the mandate.
The governing New Patriotic Party, they are hoping to break the 8. If this data is anything to go by, how do you propose they turn their fortunes around?
I think that the government has changed in a strategy. They see that they have lost the country. The country is not behind them. And so they are actually hoping that they could get the few, leaders of institutions to sort of back them, whether through, favorable conditions or fearful conditions. So if you look at the posture of the government, they actually appealing to state institutions, they're appealing to the leaders of institutions, trying to let them do things that could actually subvert the will of the people. But that's not going to happen. When you have the people very much, sort of apathetic towards your cause, nothing could actually stop them. And so, yes, they would have the will, the ambition to break the eight. The people have the ambitions of themselves. I mean, ambitions of themselves. So certainly it would depend. But I think that, even if you try to cower the leaders of certain state institutions, not everybody would actually buy into that.
What about the school of thought that we've tried the opposition NDC, we've tried their flag bearer, we have seen how the economic outlook panned out? What would change this time?
Unfortunately, your constitution gives you what they call multi-party democracy. Unfortunately, that had been reduced to duopoly. Two people or two parties are the ones who actually have the potential of winning the election. Now, the principle of democracy is that when power is given you and you don't use it rightly, the people have every right to actually take power back. It's just like you've gone to buy a tin of milk and it's not good, you return it. There's a return policy. Thank God the Constitution has given us a return policy that if you're not happy, we have to return. The issue is that you only could actually have parties, that are registered that could actually contest for elections. And in our case, it had been reduced to only two political parties. So clearly, you have to be voted out, and someone has to take the position. If we had actually used the same principle to vote the NDC out in 2016, certainly the people will use the same principle. As to who they vote, it is their own decision. But of course, we need to exert the same principle to remove a government that is holistically looked at as non-performing. And there is a comprehensive understanding amongst people that the same criticism they mounted against the NDC, perhaps they are even doing more. The kind of promises that they gave, they have delivered little. And so suddenly the principle of democracy must be upheld. As to who the people would vote for should be their own, concern. But certainly the people have every right to take out the MPP because democracy says so.
Let's look at the concerns that we haven't given as much attention to the other political parties. The third force, the other political parties hoping to, rule the country. With some of these ratings and some of these analysis just targeted at the two main political parties, the NDC and the NPP, how would you think it will affect the fortunes of those up and coming, hoping to be the third force in Ghana's political scene?
I think that firstly, it is a responsibility of the political parties, other political parties, to make themselves viable. When experts or researchers are doing studies. Of course, in the wider report, which I suspect, because this particular report, I'm sure, is a smaller version or an abridged version, I'm sure in the wider report they might have, other political parties put together as other represented in there. But if you want to actually feature in terms of studies like this, the other political parties must put themselves forward to be viable so that they could be actually studied by researchers. If you don't put yourself forward to be viable, I'm afraid you're actually lumped together as other political parties. And then, of course, it behoves on the media also to make sure that we actually put forward an equal playing field, making sure that we could put visibility on the other political parties so that people could actually choose them as alternatives. But of course, the reality is the reality. If you don't put your house in order, nobody actually takes you serious. So they have to put their act in order so that they can actually be looked at as potential, parties for power.
Thank you, Professor Kobe Mensah. He's a political marketing expert at the University of Ghana Business School, for your time here on Newstex. Let's do some other stories now. We'll take you to WAM because there are issues happening at WAM. Residents say they are living in fear following a recent murder in the area. Businesses that once thrived at night are showing signs of shutting their doors early because their owners are too terrified to keep their shop open. Now, restaurant owners, pub operators and shopkeepers all echo the same sentiment that the town is no longer safe, even with the police and military patrols combing the streets. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam joins us live with more. Rafiq, Now, this is quite worrying. 17 murders in 3 years. I would come to you shortly to refresh our minds, but let's go back to our earlier story. And we're working the lines now to get reaction from the NPP. Miracles Abuaji joins us with more. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, have you seen this report?
Yes, I have.
What's the initial assessment of this report?
Well, there's an election. We have about 5 months elections. Our responsibility as a political party is to campaign and campaign very well to make sure that we are winning the election. Basically, that's what we are doing. As we speak, we are in the 5 northern regions campaigning. Until we get to the polls and we get to the ballot on 7th of December, we believe that we have a responsibility to ensure that the Ghanaian voter has a reason to vote for us. That's what we are doing.
A key concern they raise in this report that you would be defeated by the NDC because of the performance of the city. How do you plan to work things out as you move to the polls?
That's a responsibility that is on us. That's a conversation that we are having with the people of Ghana. Our job is to ensure that we manage the economy and all of its related issues in a way, a manner that will be quite satisfactory to the people of Ghana. At least when they get to the poll and they have to make a decision, they can run some proper comparative analysis between us and the opponent and make the choice. Like I said, we have about 4 to 5 months to elections. We are working at it. You can see a lot of improvement as compared to about 8 or 9 months ago. Today, inflation is around 23. It used to be about 54% in some 7 months ago, and that clearly tells you that there's some work being put into it. And every day, government's responsibility is to turn things around and make sure that we see progress, in the lives of the people. And we are engaging the people and all of these things. I heard you ask Professor Kobe-Mensah how he would advise, and I wonder why you keep calling an NDC professor to advise the MPP and expect that he would give any objective advice. It's like calling Mosquito, the chairman of the NDC, and asking him to advise the NDC. And I think it's unfair to our listeners. He is an NDC advocate. Let's keep it as such. Then let's have the conversation in that context. I think it will help your audience to know and situate the conversation properly. But we are campaigning. We are not just sitting on radio and sitting on Twitter. We are on the ground. Our flag bearer is in the hinterland. Our running mate is in the hinterland. Our second lady is in the hinterland. All the arms of our party functionaries are in the hinterland, and we are engaging the people. I heard the professor say that the people feel otherwise. Yes, the people feel otherwise. They feel otherwise from how he feels and how he processes some of these things and how he attempts to steal some of these information. I'm just coming from my hometown, Latte, and they have their roads ongoing, and they are looking forward to having their roads done. It would inform their decision. The woman whose 3 children, out of which only one has managed to have secondary education as a result of the free senior high school policy, is going to look at that to take a decision. The young lady who was left at home for years before the MPP came to office and then he was employed is going to take a decision based on that. Those whose jobs collapsed and industries and factories collapsed as a result of 3 years of power crisis under Professor Kobe-Mensah's candidate, Mohamed Pena, they are going to look at that to take a decision. And so we are having a conversation with the people. All ingredients will come to play. All indicators will come to play, including exchange rates, including fuel prices, including inflation, including roads, including health, including education, including industry. Every single thing will come to play. And so I find it quite hilarious when I see some of these professors make the NDC feel like they have won an election already, and for which reason you don't see the NDC even campaigning and even telling the people of Ghana what they are bringing onto the table. It's all fair and good. We are not complacent. We are taking this election seriously, and we believe that building a nation is not an event, is work in progress, when we are engaging the people of this country on all the aspects, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What we have been able to do, how we are going to consolidate it, why we believe that we are the best to consolidate against, and what we propose for the future. That's the kind of conversation we are having. And we take all of these reports and feedback from institutions like Fitch and all of that seriously. We'll go through it, consider the issues, make sure that we set them in motion, places that are still outstanding to be done. And we are going to work hard to ensure that we become a viable option in these elections and their opponents.
Thank you, Dennis, for your time here on Newsdesk. Now let's take you back
You're very
to
much
WAP,
welcome.
where residents are living in fear following this recent spate of murders in the area. We know that businesses that once thrived at night are now showing signs of shutting their doors early because their owners are too terrified to keep the shops open. Let's get on the ground now and speak to my colleague Rafiq Salam. He's been monitoring the situation. Rafiq, what can you report?
Hello?
Rafiq, you would have to unmute so I can hear you clearly. Rafiq, tell us, you've been engaging some of the shop and business owners. What have they been telling you?
I am currently located at the entertainment hub of the one municipality, that is Arpoguru, where we have several restaurants and also pubs. I have spoken to the managers of these pubs and restaurants, and they told me that they are living in fear. At first, they used to close somewhere around during the wee hours of the morning. I'm talking about some of the drinking bars. But now they are closing around 11 p.m. and then 10 p.m. Because of the situation right here in the one municipality. And because of that, it's also affecting their businesses. I also managed to speak to tricycle operators, and they told me that it's still same because sometimes they used to lounge around in town till about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. One person from Kumasi and other places comes into town, so they'll pick the passengers. For now, they are unable to do that because of the fear. They are closing also early, which is also impeding on their operations in the municipality.
Rafiq, I know you've been doing some snooping. Has the police service released any leads to some of the suspects yet?
For now, the police haven't given us any idea as to where this situation is panning out, but I can report to you that, you know, there were two suspects. There were two suspects that were picked in connection with the latest murder.
We seem to be losing connection to Rafiq Salam. Rafiq, you have to position rightly for me. I seem to be losing you. If you just tuned in, we're discussing the recent spate of murders in Wa and the concern by residents. Now they're living in fear. Some shop operators and pub operators are closing their shops earlier than usual. Rafiq, I have you back. Tell us what you were just making your point. Finish on that point.
Yes, I'm saying that two suspects.
Unfortunately, we don't have clear connection to Rafiq Salam. We'll be back in that region in subsequent bulletin. Let's do some other stories now. We shift our attention to the health sector, where nurses are pushing for government to dedicate 2% of Ghana's oil revenue to healthcare delivery. Speaking on PM Express, Dr. David Tenkwanchum, General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, said political parties need to prioritize the needs of the health sector in their manifestos. He also added that the allowances ought to be maintained moving forward.
Yeah, you know, I'm a teacher, and I tell you, almost every week I'm signing, you know, endorsing testimonials for people to travel outside. And it scares me. You know, it's not just the young doctors, people who are specialists are also leaving. You know, so, I mean, it cuts across the doctor, you know, fraternity. It's also about all health workers. You know, the fundamental question remains that the remuneration is poor, conditions of service is bad. Now, in dollar terms, I can tell you that what we take home has plummeted by more than 300% over the last few years. So
how much is the average doctor taking now?
Who?
An average doctor?
It's about $500 equivalent. You know, so you can imagine, and you've probably thought that it will be in the thousands of dollars. That is not so. You know, so and so people are weeping, they are dissatisfied, poor infrastructure, so they are packing bag and baggage. So that must be reversed.
And so what's the specific proposal to the parties?
So
what are you holding them
remunerations and tie it to economic indices. Not just say that we've increased your salary by 100 cedis. But what is the real value, not just the nominal value of the increment that you've done? How is it going to ensure that people get, they get satisfied with what they've been given? And then it can take them home and take care of their families and their personal development. That is what we want to see, that commitment from these parties.
It's whatever they have said finds expression with whatever conversation we had with the various political parties. But we want to go beyond that. We think that we need to set aside at least 2% or more of the oil revenue into the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Okay.
All right?
That's another radical one.
Precisely. You should have to take bold and decisive decisions when it comes to the health sector. All right? Let's look at the Alma Mater Declaration in 1978, where all countries, about 134 countries that met, decided about 16% of a country's GDP should be directed towards health. Have we achieved that? Abuja Declaration, ECOWAS leaders met and they said, they can commit 15% of their revenue into health. Where are we? Ghana, we're doing something like 9.5% or 10%. We are nowhere there. Precisely, I agree with him. I think that we have to take very calculative and bold decisions in providing a financing to the health sector. And we are proposing that at least between 2 to 5% of our oil revenue should be directed towards health.
Let's do some other stories now. The collapse of two bridges linking Kulgona and its localities in the East Mamprusi municipality of the Northeast region has forced residents there to resort to dangerous means to access essential public services in other parts of the region. The two bridges broke down in August last year, completely cutting off the area and isolating the tribal residents who are already struggling with the consequences of long-standing state of neglect. Following the start of the rains, access to education and healthcare facilities out of the community have become a challenge and economic activities have grinded to a halt. Ilyasu Tango has more in this report.
The farming community of Kulgona in the East Mamprusi municipality is located less than 40 kilometers east of the regional capital, Nalirgu, situated on the extreme left of the village of Kolemvai along the Nalirgu-Bintiri road. The road that runs through Kulgona is being seen as the shortest alternative to travel from the regional capital to the easternmost parts of the region, including the Yunyo and the Cherponi districts. The road is, however, rarely used by motorists due to the lack of a bridge over a river at the eastern outskirts of the community, which often renders it immotorable during rainy seasons. Even so, the situation has grown from bad to worse following the collapse in August of last year of two bridges, both at the center and western exit of the community. This situation has completely cut off the community and 8 localities of about 17 villages from contact with the rest of the region.
I'm appealing to government. Government should listen to our voice. We are seriously having a problem in Kulgona here. Okay. Look at the place.
The situation has also split the community, completely preventing those at the western part from accessing any public services either in the community or the regional capital. Since the rains began, school children on this part of the community have been asked to stay at home. Their parents are worried and plead with the authorities to fix the bridges. We can't allow our children to continue to risk their way to school every day. We can no longer access healthcare facility in Nalirgu. We are begging the government to come to our rescue for God's sake.
We are appealing to government to come to our aid, to refill it so that people can access healthcare, and students in particular can also pass through the bridge to school.
The collapsed bridges since last year have also led to the death of at least 2 persons in the community. Their relatives recount the incident and add that they hold the government accountable for their untimely and painful deaths. The situation has also severely impacted socio-economic activities, with startups and small businesses being threatened, whilst access to the most basic needs such as food items and pharmaceutical products becoming a challenge day by day in the community.
If the rain
if I went to Seconds or if I want to Kumasi and bring my ATM, in fact, we can grab the labor. I'm selling mattress and furniture, do more money.
This traditional birth attendant is also worried about the plight of pregnant women and begs the government for attention.
When they refer to the toilet, they can't go. But the only means is motorbike. Some of them cannot sit on motorbike. The road is not even good. So once you sit on the motorbike, put on the potholes before you even get to the hospital. Okay. So they want to appeal to government and civil society, ask for the hospital, so if they can upgrade it from the chief's compound.
Even the weekly market, which used to be one of the largest in the municipality, is becoming increasingly empty each week.
On a regular market day, you see many cars here. And as I speak now, no car can pass there.
The chief of the community said his people and many other Concomba communities were yet to benefit from the creation of the new region. He has therefore called on the regional authorities to ensure fair and equitable distribution of the national treasury. The school building is in shambles, and the marketplace is nothing to write home about. We have been neglected. We haven't benefited. The community development staffer and youth leader in the community agrees with the chief.
From this stretch, from Kulgwana to Nanyiri, up to Gugu, up to Bintere and Bangu area, we cannot pinpoint a single project that will say it is as a result of the creation of the region that we have gotten this thing. People on the ground feel that probably because it is a Concomba land, that is why it is like that. We feel that we have actually been neglected as a tribe.
Right.
We just hope that things will change. But the question is, when?
From Nalerigo for Joy News, Elias Sotanko reporting.
Let's get on the phone lines now and speak to Member of Parliament for the area. He's Alhaji Isifu Baba. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. This is worrying. 11 months, no results yet. What are you doing to fix the situation?
Good morning, and I appreciate this opportunity to speak to your network. It is a very worrying situation. In 2016, that road was awarded for construction, and the inception of the NDC government, they started to terminate their contract and do value money audit. When I entered Parliament, I had an opportunity to hold a minister to a minister and I had an engagement with him on the floor of Parliament. And his response was that they were doing value for money audit and they were going to award it to a new contractor to go on site. I have had an opportunity to make follow-ups to his office to find out what was going on. So it is a very important road to us because if you look at that enclave, Urugwana, Nayeli, Kamlaju, and all those places, at the moment they are split because of the recent collapse of those two bridges. So they look at the last policy come to market. Cannot cast the market center.
Mr. Isifu, you would have to position rightly. Our connection to you isn't the best. But then let's look at interim measures you're putting in place to help the plight of residents, because they're now having to resort to use unsafe routes to access healthcare and other communities. What are you doing in the interim? Unfortunately, we've lost them. You're watching Newsdesk. We'll be back with more after this break. Thanks for staying with us here on News Text. Now, the Volta River Authority has underscored its commitment to ensuring the safety and preparedness of communities through precautionary spilling measures. Director of Environment and Stability Development at VRA, Ben Saki, speaking at an assembly of stakeholders from Keta and Anoga districts, outlined VRA's comprehensive approach to managing water resources responsibly. There's more in the following report.
Strategy involves a detailed assessment of water management practices, including the timing and volume of spills, to minimize risks to the environment and local communities. This forward-thinking approach reflects the authority's commitment to sustainable development and environmental stewardship. To this end, the VRA will be organizing a series of workshops and informational sessions aimed at educating local communities and stakeholders about the new precautionary measures. These sessions will provide valuable insights into the rationale behind the long-term spills and the benefits of such an approach. Ben Saki is the Director of Environment and Sustainability Development at the Volta River Authority. He has been speaking
of how the response to the Apostle spillage 2023 was taken. And that's after actually review comprised of all the agencies. There has been an interministerial committee that has been formed, made up of all the relevant ministries that are responsible for this activity. Indeed, what you are seeing today is one of the recommendations made from the action review. Every year, we come and have an education on the emergency response. The district assemblies can bear witness to that. Since 2011. But the number of people and those who were part was limited. But from what has happened, we realized that we need to expand the scope. And that is why we have expanded the scope.
The announcement has been met with positive feedback from environmental groups and local leaders who commended VRA's proactive stance. Here is what some participants had to say.
The lagoon itself is so silted and needed dredging. We equally discovered that the water in the lagoon, the gate we have cannot close it. When we lock the gate and we want to have enough water in the lagoon for fishing purposes, the gate is below the level of the water enough for fishing purposes. So when we finally closed the gate, there was not enough water left in the lagoon. And a lot of people took us to task on that. The people at Serenigba and Yanko areas, they say, oh, MC
The Municipal Chief Executive for Keta, Emmanuel Gemega, commended the VRA for its forward-thinking approach and its efforts to involve the community in its planning and decision-making process.
But let me also conclude by thanking you, our VRA partners, for last year. When we had that high rise of the lagoon, the Keta Lagoon, it flooded our homes, it flooded our schools, our churches, all social centers. It flooded. Even our roads were flooded. To the extent that the monument, that 3 million US dollar bridge that was constructed for us over there was under threat. At the time, if you were in your car passing on it, you feel that the slab on it was shifting. That bridge was nearly going to collapse because of the the flood. And when the decision came that we should cut the sandbar between the lagoon and the sea, there was so much agitation against it. But thank God, leadership was resolute and it was done very scientifically. And then all water from the lagoon drifted into the sea without destroying a single structure.
The Volta River Authority's new initiative represents a significant advancement in environmental stewardship and stakeholders' engagement, promising a safer and more sustainable future for all. Ivy Satoji, Joy News, Keta.
Now, 4 new improved seed varieties have been introduced to farmers in the Kumbungu district of the northern region to help increase yields among smallholder farmers. The new cowpea, maize and groundnut varieties are said to be drought tolerant and can mature within 3 months after planting. This has become necessary following climate change and its effects on rainfall patterns in the area. Martina Bugri has more in this report.
The project is being globally led by the Alliance of Biodiversity International, NCR, and in Ghana, the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. The World Bank project is being implemented in 32 districts and 8 regions of Ghana. Speaking to Joy News at a demonstration site, senior research scientist at the CSIR Crop Research Institute, Kumasi, Dr. Patricia Amankwa-Yeboah said they were introducing the farmers to smart agriculture.
Now we have seen that there are a lot of challenges when it comes to planting and other agronomic practices. These challenges become labor constraints, so it becomes challenging for the farmer to plant as much as they want. So more and more, our farmers are still smallholder. Even when they have the capacity to plant more, they don't because of labor constraints. So we are introducing these mechanization enablers, very small equipment, small planters, fertilizer applicators, and so on and so forth to help or enable the agricultural aspect of the farming. Now, when it comes to the soil, we are trying to improve the fertility by giving them a very specific amount of fertilizer to apply. It's almost district level based, not unlike the national level where we are applying the blanket fertilizer. So somebody in Kumbungu is not applying the same fertilizer as somebody in Cape Coast because the conditions are not the same. So we have come up with these conditions or site-specific fertilizer recommendations, and we are recommending that they apply the basal during planting. So while you are planting your seed, you also apply the fertilizer. Now, as part of this smart production on soil, we are also going to give the farmers agro-advisories. So the agro-advisories is going to come in the form of climate information services. We will send them information about rainfall days, weather, how the outlook is going to look like, so that they can use it to plan their field activities.
The Kumbungu District Director of Education, Abiba Inusa, said the rains ended last year early, making it difficult for farmers to harvest. But with the introduction of these new crops, it will take just 3 months to mature.
This is varieties that can be resistant to the weather, the dry. When there is a drought, especially the groundnut or the maize is a variety that can resist. When there's drought, it can tolerate it for some time. Yes. So the project seeks to address the drought problem in the districts or in the region, so that in case there's drought, you can still get something. And then the technologies to the cover cropping, the mukuna, and then the cowpea we are planting, or the what we are intercropping, is just to serve as cover crop.
Some of the farmers said the new methods will go a long way in addressing some of the challenges they face.
The rainfall pattern has reduced. if I'm able to switch from the 3-month one to 3-month varieties, I think I can get more yield from the 3 months, and then learn from different varieties that you people brought to the community.
You're watching Joy News Next. We'll be back with business, so stay tuned in.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao. The National President of the Peasant Farmers Association, Wapia Awal Ado, is urging government to increase investments in strategic infrastructure needed to transform the country's agri sector. According to Awal, about 80% of farmers have not been included in the second phase of the Planting for Food and Jobs program. He made the remarks at the National Stakeholder Validation Workshop on Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2 in Accra.
Farmers Association of Ghana, in collaboration with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and GIZ, held a national validation workshop in Accra to assess a report on the implementation of the Planting for Food and Jobs program Phase 2. In an interview with Joy Business, the national president of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Awa Aduwala Ado, revealed that as of June 2024, about 80% of farmers have not been included in the second phase of the program.
As at June, we observed that around 80% of the farmers have not been registered and their farms have not been mapped, which is a source of worry to us because the rainy season has started. If you go to many places, people are planting, they need the inputs to be able to grow food. So this is a source of worry to us in the association because our members are calling on us every day for the farm inputs. And then again, we are also looking at the registration process, which is very slow. We earlier made a call that government can involve national service personnel in the registration process because the MOFA extension officers are not many in this country. This is a challenge we are all aware. Number two, they don't have the logistics. You go to some places, they are complaining about motorbikes and fuel to be able to reach out to the farms.
Awal Ado further urged government to intensify agricultural investment to encourage youth involvement.
We are calling on government. If you have to invest in irrigation, in mechanization, and in technology, this is what will attract the youth into agriculture. If you don't do this, you will not expect people, especially young people and others have even gone to school, to come into the agriculture sector to continue with the difficult tasks. So if government really want to reduce the unemployment, that is why we earlier were telling them a number of programs have been rolled out, they are unsustainable. After some time, the programs die out. But the agriculture sector is where Ghana has competitive advantage. So if we invest in irrigation, in technology, we can attract the youth to this area, and eventually we're going to grow food to this nation. Mind you, I indicated that we are the backbone of the nation's economy, the smallholder farmers, and then we also produce food to ensure that Ghana is self-sufficient when it comes to food production.
The Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2 was launched in March 2024 by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to address the challenges encountered during the program's initial phase.
Now, Ghana has seen significant growth in the tourism industry with improved service delivery and policy initiatives in the last few years. This development is hailed by stakeholders, although more needs to be done to keep Ghana at the top. Speaking to Joy Business after receiving the National Association of Black Social Workers from the United States, Executive Chairperson of Land Tours, Mona Boyd, hailed the progress and called for more support for the industry. Here's more in this report. The visit by the United States delegation from the Association of Black Social Workers forms part of initiatives to explore business opportunities and action programs in other parts of the world. According to the association, Ghana has a rich cultural history which makes it a perfect destination for tourism in Africa. In an interview with journalists, Executive Chairperson for Land Tours applauded the move and declared their commitment to host more of such groups in the country.
I'd say it's faring very well. All over the world, especially in Ghana, tourism arrivals are up anywhere from 40 to 20% in most countries. So in Ghana, we have seen our arrivals this year increase by 50% over last year. So we're quite happy with the dynamism of the industry. and the growth in the sector.
President of the Association of Black Social Workers, Melissa Smith-Harley, said the visit is an opportunity to learn and share best practices on social work.
So this is our opportunity to come to learn, to educate, and reacquaint with the continent. Well, Ghana is a beautiful place. It is the heart of Africa. It is a friendly place. It is a great place to visit. I had an opportunity to come last summer, and it was wonderful. We went to Kumasi. We went to Accra. We had a great opportunity to learn and meet the people. Going to the point of no return was unforgettable and life-changing. So I wanted to make sure that the next generation of black social workers had an opportunity to come to Ghana, because this is really the beginning of the experience of the continent.
The delegation is expected to visit some tourist sites across the country before leaving for the U.S. And that's it for this segment. The news returns after the break.
Good morning. Welcome back to Newsdesk. Well, that's how we wrap the curtains here. Draw the curtains here. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Safo. I'll be back at 12 p.m. with more news.